All right, we're back to Dora's loft, and we're gonna do the rest of the plants. We did a bunch last time. We got a little bit more, including a tree. Okay, the very first plant up is roses. And I'm going to do this section in real time. This is probably my most requested tutorial. I've done them a few times. I think I sped it up and everything, but this time around I'm going to slow it down and I'll show you how to do it. It's not hard. You can do it. All right, they want you to cut 180 strip and then cut it in half again for the wires. I thought that was silly. Just cut it to the length they want it. And then our favorite little leaves, curve it one side and curve it the other. And then after we do that, then we're going to cut our pretty colors for the roses. There's going to be 4 in total. Now they wanted this 8 millimeters tall and 75 long. It seemed really wide to me. It doesn't say it, but I'm going to fold these in half because they need to be much smaller. If you can certainly do it the way that they said, but I think they'd be too big. So the first thing I would recommend doing is folding the corner, and they said to, start folding right there. What I do is I'm going to put a little dab of glue it onto my wire, clamp it, and let it dry. Believe me, it's much, much, much easier to manipulate the paper when this is all set to the wire. Otherwise, it's going to roll around on you. All right. Here we go. It's all nice and dry. And you go up, around, down, and around. Keeping that top portion towards the top. That's going to be your roll for the rows. Then you're going to go up. Sometimes it's difficult to bend, but then you go up, around, down. You getting this? Around, up. You're going to keep going all the way around. I think the hardest part is this is not going to be perfect. Don't expect it to be perfect. In fact, it's basically just a crumpled up piece of paper, to be honest, and it's rows. But if you go the up, down, around, you will get kind of the petal effect. Alright, we're going to squish it with our hands, put a dab of glue on that last piece, and clamp it. Set it aside. Don't mess with it, because it'll spring out. You see how it's not perfect? And if you do more, you get better at it. Alright, one more time. Let's do this. We're going to be pros now. Up. Around. Down. Around. Up. Around. Down. Around. Let's keep going. One thing with these, no two will ever be alike. Some will be better than others. And there's your little pink roses. And you're going to end up doing 4 of them. 2 pink, 1 purple, and 1 red. We're going to unclamp it after it's dry. And see? Look like little roses. And they look even better when you clump them all together. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pre-curl all these little leaves. Just zoop with your nail and it makes it curl. And you're going to put 1 on each side so each flower gets 2 leaves. Go. Got a bunch of little pretty roses. That wasn't too bad. You can do that. Alright, before we get too far, we have to backtrack a little bit and make a watering can, or what they call is a kettle. Now you might ask, what's with the band-aid? Well, this little guy right here, he cut me. Razor blades are sharp. And then somebody asked, is like, do you cut these out with the scissors? I actually do. It's just you use the back end of your scissors, rotate with your other hand, and you can cut these teeny tiny little pieces. Or you can X-Acto knife. Either way is fine. Since I tend to cut myself with my razor blade all the time. With these little pieces, it does tell you in that upper right hand corner to fold those in half and then pre-fold everything. So we're just getting everything all ready to assemble. And this funky little piece, you just put a dab of glue in the middle and fold the little tabs. It'll make sense later. This is the main body of the kettle, they call it, or the watering can. So you just fold it in half and make a circle, a cone, not a cone, I guess, whatever it is. After I glued it, kind of lost its shape a little bit, so I have a pen that happens to be the exact same size as it, and I just kind of reformed it so it's a little more round. And now we're going to make the little spout. Honestly, I lost this little piece of paper. Good news, Rolife gives you extras. So I just cut out the extra piece, and then this one's going to be a little tiny cone. Alright, the cool part about this one is it just happened to fit on my needle nose pliers here just right, so I can get a nice perfect little cone. Ta-da! Alright, now we're going to do these teeny tiny pieces. I left cutting these out ahead of time on purpose because I knew if I cut them out, I would brush my hand or a brisk wind would go by and I would lose these immediately. So I didn't cut them out until I absolutely needed them. And from what I understand, is you glue the 2 pieces together. I think I should have put so that the gray sides were out on both sides. That's the only difference I would probably do. And then you cut that little slice very carefully with your very sharp knife. And then you kind of concave it. This is going to be the end of your spout. This is a little fiddly and a little tricky, but use your tools to to your advantage. If you have to double plier it, I do that a lot. So do what you have to. And then we're just going to put the bottom piece on. So it should, in all the kits that I've done, doing this never seems to fit perfectly. So do your best. And I again used the end of my pen here to help me out and to flatten it, and ta-da! And then the little top cover, so I'm going to pre-curl it. It doesn't really say, there's sometimes they give you a lot of instructions and sometimes they're like, put it here, figure it out. So this is one of those cases. So I kind of pre-curled it and then jammed it in there very carefully. That glue is very stringy, by the way, too. You could, because this is all paper, probably use white glue and it would work. Okay, next up we're going to put that little tiny circle at the end of our spout, the skinny end. This kind of just, directs the water. And then we're going to stick this here. And I know, I did this wrong. Just wait, I'll fix it later. And now I'm going to fold these teeny tiny pieces. They are very small. And you have to fold against the grain here. So just smush it, and then you're going to fold it like a little staple. And this is going to hold the little spout to the body of the kettle, they call it. Water spout. I do prop it up and let it dry in between each one. And this is the handle, so it gives you dotted lines. Just fold where it says. You could probably pre-score all this and it'd make your life a little bit easier. I just used my nail and bent it. I glued it shut too to kind of help out here. And then just bend in the shape that they show there. Once you get it just to the right spot, I mentally built this purposely so that the seam was in the back. Just, for aesthetics there. And there you go. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's not setting right. And it does tell you when you curled it up to cut it at a diagonal. So I ended up doing it later. No biggie. We'll just, ta-da, like nothing ever happened. Everything's fixable. Okay, we got our kettle now, our watering can. Now we can do the last step, which is putting all the pretty little roses in. Ta-da! And I did put a dollop of glue. You see, if we would have made those bigger, there was no way that would have fit in there. Okay, now this is the first of a few cactuses. Once you get the first one made, it's super easy. You'll figure it out. All right, first up, and I'm using, I'm trying to use all the green paper that I can, and you're going to make 3 pieces at the different sizes they say. When they says D times 3, E times 3, that means they want 3 pieces. And then I'm going to cut all the wires too. We're going to make 3 little cactuses. Once you get all your pieces, I just find it easier to have everything all ready, and then you can concentrate on how to make it. You don't have to worry about hunting for parts and pieces. And first thing, just fold every piece in half, long ways. Once you got that, for every trio, we're just going to glue these all together. So you're going to glue 2 pieces together, end to end, just like that. I do flip those up a little bit, and then you're going to do the third piece. And I completely forgot to put the wire in there before this, but don't worry, I figured that out. So you're going to make a 3-armed, well, I don't know, like a little propeller. So there we go. We got 3 little things. And I forgot that's okay. If you catch it before it gets too dry, you can jam it in there. The other ones I do it. So before you put the third piece on, put the wire in and then glue it. And then you're just gonna do a wiggly cut. Doesn't have to be any certain way, just however you can get your scissors in there. And then just make sure it's a little bit rounded at the top so it's a little more realistic. Less like a Minecraft cactus. And you're going to do that on all 3 sides. And there you go. You got a cactus. Cacti. Cacti. 1, 2 more to go. And see, I did remember to put the wire in before I glued it. And then an itty bitty one. Now, I did this a little bit differently. I'd like to say that I did that totally on purpose, but I totally missed that you were supposed to put that little tiny one off the side of the long one. But it all works out. So I just put a little bit of clay in the pot, and before it dries, I just jammed all 3 of them in there. There you go. Ta-da! Now we're going to do another one. Exactly the same way. The only difference on this one is you're going to make a pot completely with the clay. So you're going to roll out a little ball here to about the size. I pinched off a little piece for the long skinny piece that goes around the top. Make it approximately to the size they want. I try to get it pretty close because, again, we don't know where it's going to go in the project. So we're going to try to keep it in the dimensions that they want so it'll fit in there. Just kind of flatten on top and round on the side, and then a long snake. This will bring you back to kindergarten, right? Long snake, and then that'll go along the top. And you got a pot. Kind of looks like a little acorn, which is cute. And then I've kind of flattened it on the table so that it'll stand upright for us. And same thing, we're going to cut 3 pieces, and then we're going to cut all the paper, which is 3 pieces per little cacti? We'll never know. I don't know. Ta-da! Like that. And then rinse and repeat. Fold, glue together, and wiggle waggle the sides. this one did want all 3 in there. And you just kind of, if you do this when the clay is a little wet, it might smush down a little bit, so be careful there. All right, another cactus. This one's different. This one, it took my brain power a little bit. So first off, we're gonna make 2 flowers. Now, we made these before in the last video. So it's just the little squares folded up into kind of like a tulip shape. Just gonna smush those up and set those aside. Now, this isn't that tricky. It's just folding paper. If you're into origami or anything like that, this is nothing. So we're gonna cut it to the size. It seems big, but don't worry about it. And then they give you no direction. Just you gotta accordion fold it. Well, I wanted it a little more even. So what I did is I folded it in half. Fold it in half again, keep going half, 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 half until it's as small as I could possibly get it, the folds. There we go. Now we got a nice little accordion. It's very satisfying looking. And we're just going to loop it around and glue those 2 ends together. And once I got here, it's a little loose, so what I did is I put a dollop of glue in the middle and kind of smushed it together. Just to hold it together a little bit more, because otherwise it wouldn't fit in your little container. And you're going to diagonal the ends. It says only one end, but I did it on both because the little rivet that they want you to glue it in, it wouldn't fit as is. Maybe because I didn't fold it as tight as they wanted it, but I just trimmed it and it worked. See? This part I didn't quite understand. I think I was supposed to use the white paint. I'm not sure. But what I did is I just did like little gloops of glue on the seams. I think it's supposed to kind of imitate like the spikes. So I just put a little bit here and there just to give it an illusion. I think paint would have been a little bit too stark on it. You can do either. Or you can leave it alone. It doesn't matter. And once I got to a good place, I just glued the 2 little flowers on there. There you go. And I did use my X-Acto just to kind of separate the pieces. Trying to get that, you know, cactus-y look. And then just glue it into the little base. Probably the hardest part of this whole thing is to get it to stand up straight, because it kept wanting to wibble wobble. Because if you get it a little bit too to the left or right, it's going to fall over. So now we're going to go back to our clay. I did this kind of with the other group, but we're going to do these in order. I wanted to split these up for you. So we're going to mix some clay and make green. I had a little bit of green left over from the last one. Just kind of mix it to the color that you like. They wanted it a little more bluey. Okay, once you got the color you want, we're just going to make 6 little petals. So I just made 6 little balls and kind of formed them into that teardrop shape. And then you're going to make the little pot, which is just a brown piece of clay. It's a little more square. So you just kind of make a little cube. About to the size that they want. About 10 by 10. That's not bad. And then to make the little hole in the top, I just used the end of my pencil. Lastly, we're going to make these little round dots. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be. Maybe the gravel with the succulent. I'm not sure. But it just kind of gets stuck around the edges of your pot here. And I just made it as I went. Last thing you're going to do is, and it's good because I let these dry just a smidge so that they kind of firm up a little bit, and just layer your little petals in there. These are like those little hen and chick succulents. Just build it up, or aloe, kinda. There you go. Cute little plant. Ta-da! Next one. Same thing, except just different color. So we're going to do a white pot, which we've done before. You know, you make the bottom and then the little snake that goes around the edge. They want it a little bit lighter in the clay, so we're going to add a little more green, a little more blue, you know, kind of just a little more white. Just play with it. And here's we're going to be pros at this. Make the pot, make the snake, go around. This time we have a white little acorn. This one has a bit more little leaves, and I think they're a little bit smaller. So teeny tiny, smush them, make them into kind of a teardrop shape. And you're gonna make about 12 of those. I ended up kind of just building it as I'm putting them in, just so that you kind of know how many you need. You might not need all 12, so I'm just building as I go, as I'm dropping everything everywhere. It is a little fussy. Just take your time. Listen to a cool podcast. And there you go. All right, the next one, these leaves, you're gonna have to cut them out, and when you cut them out, make sure you don't get it off of the strip at the bottom. I did leave a little white. It's okay because it's not gonna show because it's gonna go into your pot. So once you cut them out, it's a pain, but just be careful and cut them without cutting all the way through. If you do, not a big deal. You could put each leaf in individually, but if you do it right, I shouldn't say right, I mean this way, you can just curl it around and glue it like this, and then you're going to put it in the pot. Now I curled mine a little too loose, so it wasn't going to fit in the jar thing. So I did have to squish it up a little bit and then jam it in there. And you'll see that bottom piece, it doesn't show when you get it all the way in there. Mine's a little more foofy, but there you go. You got a little spider plant. All right, we got another one. Kind of the same concept, except we're going to make a cone little pot for it. So you're just going to cut out the cardboard, and then it wants you to cover it in this foil. It wants you to glue it, but it's got a sticky back. It's tape. So I just cut it out to the size, and then I glued it directly onto the, or not glued, I taped it, stuck it directly onto the cardboard before looping it around. Yeah, see, it's just silver duct tape, basically. Stick it on there. I left that gap on purpose. That's where it's going to overlap. And then just spin it around. And this one lost its shape, so I just put it around a pencil, and there we go. Nice and round. Ta-da! And in case you didn't know, we're going to label it flower. Doesn't really give you how much, but we're just going to put a little bit of clay in here, enough to fill the pot so that you can put your plant in there. This is the, quote, dirt. I'm going to do the same thing as the last one. Cut them out, roll it up, and then this one's a little easier because you can use the clay to your advantage and just jam it in there. This one's just sprouted. All right, this is my favorite one because it's the easiest one there. You're literally taking this little bead and stick moss on top. Done. All right, we're gonna end with a bang here. This is the big tree. It looks intimidating. It's not. It just takes time, and it can be tedious. Honestly, the most annoying part is cutting all these leaves. Holy cow. And I kept them in the folds. So you see the dotted line in the middle, and you could just fold them first and then cut them, and then you'd get both sides at the same time. I didn't do that. I thought of that afterwards. But just cut all these bajillion leaves out. When it comes to cutting wire, they make it the most complicated directions ever. So it says cut 5 at 300 and cut another 5 at 300. So I'm telling you, all you need is 5 at 300 or 30 centimeters. So I had to get my big ruler out. And you need 10 at 150 millimeters. So it makes you do 5 at 300 and then cut them all in half, basically. But if you're like me and have been slowly using this green wire and you don't have 10 30 centimeter lengths, so anyway, do 5 at 30 centimeters and 10 at 150 or 15 centimeters. 5 at 30 centimeters and 10 at 15 centimeters. I hope that made sense. If you didn't get it perfect, it's not a big deal. These are just going to be branches, so it could be willy-nilly. Okay, it doesn't say this in the instructions, but fold these in half. The only clue is at the very bottom of the picture where you can see it's looped. So we're going to fold it in half. We're going to kind of eyeball where the top of our tree is going to be, and then we're going to twist the bottom half, which is going to be our trunk. Once we get that part figured out, this is all going to be branches. So just I kind of tried to do it a little bit how they wanted it. Get kind of close. Separate the little wires out. Honestly, you could do this however you want. A tree is a tree. You know what they look like. And just here and there, I twisted some together to make kind of thicker branches here and there. I've made trees like this before. They do theirs a little bit different. So they have these extra wires that they want you to attach to here. I would have just done a whole bunch of just long ones, twisted all together, and then just kept it to that first step, and you'd have more branches. Here, what I'm going to do, they don't really tell you, but just twist it, extra branches here and there, all over the place. I just added them where I felt they should be. All right. Kind of got my tree where I wanted it. Don't worry about it flopping around a little bit because the next steps are going to stabilize it a little bit more. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your paper towel, kind of rip it into long skinny strips. I will say the skinnier the better. It's a lot easier to work with. And you're just going to put a plop of glue on there and you're going to wrap it up mummy style. Where the thick branches are. Anything that's a single wire, don't put, well, you could, it wouldn't hurt it, but basically this is going to be like where the bark. So we got our little mummy tree here, just wrapped up, and I did set this aside. I used the clear glue on this, so it should dry pretty stiff. I will say this is probably the most annoying thing here. I tried to think, you probably could have used brown tissue paper, same effect. So what they wanted you to do is they had this little rope they provided. So I separated it all out, and then they wanted you to kind of unravel. I've used kind of raffia style, and it was not wrapped this tightly. So it took me a long time to get this all unraveled. Yeah, I probably would have done this differently, but I'm going to show you how to do with what they provide. It is doable. It's just very, very tedious and annoying. So when you finally get it all unwrapped, it's going to look like this. Kind of like a snake skin, I guess. And I will tell you that one strand is not going to be enough. You'll want to do both. So I'm not going to use the clear glue on this one. I'm going to use my white Elmer's glue. This will be so much easier. Think of it like paper mache. So we're just going to glop the white glue. Plus, white glue is a lot more forgiving. You can just smush it and it'll seep through the paper and make it a little more solid. White glue is great for paper things. Clear glue, it's great for if you want to do harder things like wires and metals and the hard plasticky wood pieces, things like that. Paper, white glue all the way. And basically the goal is we're going to wrap it up again, mummy style, but we're going to cover all the white. So the white paper towels is basically building the bulk, and then the brown is the to make it look like bark. So that's to make it pretty, I guess. go. I didn't mind doing that. That was kind of neat. I'd probably do it a little differently. I like the texture of it. I get what they were going for. They're going for like the woody texture. You could paint it too. That would work. And then what you're going to do is just stick all those leaves on. Now the reason I kept the fold on there is because I'm going to wrap it around the branch. Just like that. I'm not going to glue all the way to the end because that way it gives it kind of a double leaf effect. And just stick them all over. And I did curl some of the branches that didn't have leaves on it just to fill it in, and that's pretty cute. I think it turned out nice. Okay, because this was considered as a plant, I'm going to tack this on at the end. This doesn't come into play until we are going to put everything all together, but we're going to pre-make them so that it's less stress for later, right? And we're going to make little roses for a vine, basically. And it says 108 petals. What? There's got to be an easier way to do this, right? So we're going to kind of read this. It looks like we're going to do 12 petals for each rose. Okay. And then we're going to make, at the end of it, we're going to make 9 roses. There's a couple ways we could have done this. We can go back to the beginning and just make them that way. Just doing the wrapping. Or I had another idea because it looks like these roses are slightly different. I think I'm going to try something to save my sanity here. What I'm going to do, instead of making 108 individual little pieces and then trying to glue them all together, we would go insane. So we're going to make 9 of these strips of, I think it said 12. Yep, 12 little scallops. So we're going to go that way. And then we're going to try rolling it. So there's 12 scallops. We're going to go the other side, and then we're going to, don't cut all the way through. I mean, you could do it the other way. This is how I thought I would do it. And I'm going to make kind of like paper dolls. I'm going to make little teardrop shapes and keep them all connected. There we go. Just like that. And then, my idea, making this up as we go, I'm going to roll it up. We're going to use white glue. Keep the ends free so that you can flip them out. And then we're just going to roll it up. Let's see if this works. Okay, we're going to put a little dollop of glue at the end. I'm going to clamp it with my pliers here. And then we're going to try to floof it out. Let's see.
People coming.
I did end up doing it this way. I find the spikier the better, so I put a lot more points on the other 8 of them. I think you had to make 9 of them all together. But it did work. And it makes a pretty little flower. Yeah, here I made it just a smidge more spiky. And made all 9 of them. And I'm going to store them in a little box because if I let these loose, I know me, I will lose them. And I'll try to find them when I get to the end. So I found a little tiny jewelry box that I had, and we're going to save these here. Okay, we got a bajillion leaves again. This time I'm going to cut them out, fold them in half, and cut them that way. It's a little easier. And we're going to, again, just store these away. Because it's going to be a vine that goes up the stairway. So we will use these, but what's nice is we got it all made ahead of time, and we don't have to think about it. And there you go. All the plants done. Whew. That was tough. These are tougher than most. Yeah, we added clay. We have cactuses. We even made a whole tree. And a bunch of leaves and flowers. That's a big accomplishment. This was a big chunk of the project, I would say. For sure. So, the next one, we're going to make all the furniture. We got a couch, a couple chairs, I think a table, things like that. That'll seem like nothing after all this, right? So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the future videos. And then after all the chairs and things, we'll have the finale. So we only have a couple more videos to do. So, and also if you like it, also please do that thumbs up like. That helps me get you into your recommended. And of course, as always, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.